human-derived biologics, what exactly am I talking about? I'm talking about that as a product category, our current state and our future state. So really, the problem we're dealing with here is human-derived biologics, as it relates to what I'm talking about now, more specifically, our blood supply. All those different products that make up our blood supply is unevenly distributed geographically, like any other public resource. You might have an abundance of blood in Des Moines and an acute care shortage here in Dallas, and that creates the obvious inherent public health issues. So you can extrapolate that out across the country, and then more so extrapolate that out globally. You really have a big issue that's systemic and pervasive in terms of how we manage blood and other biologics as a resource globally. So what we set out to do was really build a technology backbone that sits on top of this, and it really is a marketplace. So we've gone ahead and built a B2B e-commerce platform that's specifically designed to be deployed in clinical asset. So when you think about participants in this market, you have primarily hospitals on the buy side, and then you have blood centers, blood suppliers, tissue manufacturers, all those different stakeholders on the sell side. And really it's a hyper-fragmented, inefficient market where people are doing business over the phone, fax. There's really no robust framework for any of this. So we've really taken all of this and taken it on. So for our efforts and some of our accomplishments, so we ended up winning the Harvard Forum on Healthcare Innovation Health Acceleration Challenge in 2015. That's a collaboration between Harvard Med School and Harvard Business School to really go out and identify game-changing solutions that, when deployed at scale, can make a big impact, not only nationally but globally, in terms of how we deliver care in the world. We won the Athena Health More Disruption Please Innovation Challenge in 2016. We were a premier selectee for the Innovation Celebration in 2016. This is pretty interesting. So Rand Corporation did a study for HHS, and it was really studying the sustainability of our blood supply. And it was a 200-page study. They came out with 6 recommendations, one of which was for the government to engage us, to really leverage us as a technology backbone to address some of the inefficiencies that are at play in our blood supply. And then obviously the one we're most proud of is the Tech Titans Emerging Company Innovation Award. Very supportive of that. It's our favorite. So what is it, and what do we do? So we operate a cloud-based platform. We don't have a subscription fee. Obviously, we have to contract on an enterprise level with these health systems and with these blood suppliers. So that's a really cumbersome process. We won't contract with a Presbyterian hospital. We'll contract with THR. So when you think about it in that sort of a mechanism, there's no subscription fee. We simply charge 3% on GMV. So it's a transactional fee model is how we generate revenue. We also bill and collect on behalf of the suppliers. So when you think about that, if I'm a hospital and historically I've sourced those products from one vendor, now I'm multi-sourcing. I don't want multiple billing statements for any given billing period. So we serve as a vendor managed service for that, which there's a lot of efficiency in terms of not creating administrative burden as a byproduct of creating efficiency in terms of how they go about this. Our solution as it stands, we give away a workflow solution. Again, this is a new behavior for many of these entities. How do they stand this up instantaneously? So we give away this workflow solution. We have all these business intelligence tools and analytics and reporting. It's all built in. So we just have to deploy the solution, do some end user training. We can stand them up fairly quickly. And probably the most interesting thing is we own 100% of our data. So all the transactional data, all of those interactions that we're facilitating, we own all of that data. We share that back with the customer. We can own all of that and use it in the identified manner. So what we provide a health system or hospital is increased access to blood products. So again, we talked about how fragmented that supply is. The blood supply is extremely susceptible to weather events and event-driven risks. So if we have bad weather and it's icy, it creates an acute spot shortage because people don't go out and donate. So that can create a public health risk almost overnight. So if I have access to a broader network, I can diversify out some of that risk. And that's kind of the second benefit, is really mitigating kind of that concentration risk you would have locally if you were just solely reliant on your local blood center for all of your needs. And then third, it's seamless, right? You can stand this up with very, very little pain relative to other, quote-unquote, healthcare IT deployments that are kind of multi-stage, multi-month, and multi-millions of dollars. So a hospital without Bloodbuy, if you look at this diagram, you kind of have all of these pins. Imagine those as blood centers. So these blood centers are all playing a role in managing our blood supply, and these are all individual entities too. There's the Red Cross, which has about 40% of the blood supply, and then there's a bunch of independents like Carter Blood Care. And all these blood centers are moving blood around the country mechanically. and that's how we manage our blood supply. And typically, as a hospital, my one entry point into that whole network to access that demand is through my local blood center. So if they don't have it locally, they're going to have to go out and find it and then create a whole host of kind of downstream supply chain risk for me. So really what we've done is just said, hey, look, this network exists, it's hyper-fragmented, but if we can take everything online, we can give that hospital and also those other blood centers seamless access to one another. We're really taking a disintegrated network, creating an integrated network, and now you can have this ecosystem effect to help manage this critical resource, and it works. So this isn't rocket science. So when I talk about blood products, so really, if you donated blood, you donated what's called whole blood. What they'll do is they'll test it to make sure it's safe, and then they'll manufacture it, typically using gravity to separate it out in all these different biologic components. These are kind of the four major food groups. They serve different biologic purposes in our bodies. They're all cellular components, and they serve different clinical uses as well. If you're infirmed or injured, very, very seldom are you getting dumped whole blood in. Typically, it's one of these or a combination of these different things based upon your condition. They all carry different prices too. And they all carry different shelf lives. So one of the key characteristics here in terms of why this is such a unique category, not only is it a life-saving resource, not only are we requiring a volunteer donor base, not only are they expensive, but they have a very short shelf life. So red blood cells are good for about 40 days, platelets are good for 4 days. So you can think about how quickly that can be interrupted. And then these other categories are kept in frozen state, so they're a little more robust. But one of the key considerations is these are commodities. And I'm not saying that in a pejorative sense. Blood is a commodity. It's heavily regulated by the FDA, AADB. There are all sorts of layers, both domestically and globally, just to make sure we have a safe blood supply. Nobody has kind of a secret recipe or sauce. But it's also kind of the core commodity of healthcare. So every major service line requires blood products to fuel care. So this is not something that's specific to a geography or a care setting. It's a core ingredient in just about everything that occurs in an acute care setting. So those are the product categories we just touched on. So these are the things that we transact currently on our platform. These are all derivatives of whole blood for the most part. Some of them are collected in a different manner, but they're all blood products. So this is what we currently service. And what you have to understand, so there can be multiple permutations of a certain category based upon the blood type, right? A positive, A negative, B positive, and so on and so forth, and all these other different things we do to these components before they actually translate. So our next category that's immediately adjacent to this, really we're pouring a foundation of blood products because all the reasons I just talked about. Blood is a core ingredient in care. We're establishing a commercial relationship with all these healthcare systems based upon that foundational category. Think about what Amazon did with books, right? They started with books. They got really good at books before they did anything else. So we're doing that with blood. Where we'll go next is bone and tissue. So if anybody's ever had an ACL repair like I have, you know this category. So cadaveric materials, things like that. These are a huge, huge category that is also managed by the same stakeholders within these organizations. That now they manage these two processes disparately. So we can bring both of these onto kind of the same platform through one single pane of glass. So here's kind of the wow total addressable market numbers. 42 billion is the global market. It's massive. So we've sold about 11 million, or facilitated transactions about 11 million. We've sold a little over 50,000 products over the last 18 months. So we're really scratching the surface. This is a market that's just immense, but it's a fairly thin market when you think about all the participants as well. So in terms of organization, it's not this sort of kind of boil the ocean type of exercise. So about 18 months ago, we did a strategic financing that involved these two entities. So Premier is the largest publicly traded group purchasing organization in healthcare. They're really kind of GPOs as a category of really gatekeepers. It's tough to sell to a health system. Typically, you have to sell through the GPO. So Premier has an equity stake in Bloodbuy. They're an alliance of 3,900 hospitals. We also have a strategic channel partnership with them, where we have a co-branded solution that we deploy kind of through their network of resources. And then Providence St. Joseph Health, they're either the second or third largest not-for-profit healthcare provider in the country, and through their venture arm, Providence Ventures, they took an investment in us about a year ago. So they're both strategic partners for us. So this is our network. We serve everybody from large single-site academics like Johns Hopkins, Texas Children's, to multi-geography, IDNs, community-based providers. There's really a use case for Bloodbuy in just about every setting, regardless of geography and regardless of service lines. So this is our hospital network. We work with about a little over 100 hospitals right now. This is layering on our blood centers that we work with. We're about 15, so we're in about 22 states, a little over 100 acute care providers on the other end, about 18 blood centers. And this is my background, so That's a good question. So, I mean, we're really leveraging existing modalities. So, when you think about it, we didn't reinvent kind of the engagement between the stakeholders. People have been moving blood physically all over the country, so FedEx is used quite literally. A lot of 3PLs. We can do door to door. It's kind of the first flight out methodology. But we're really leading that up to that blood supplier based upon their existing protocols.
Christian, I reckon this is not a subscription-based product, but rather a transactional.
Absolutely correct.
Chris, how did you start this? What was the idea that made you decide to start this company?
So, if you guys lived here in 2011, we had a Super Bowl in town. We had a terrible ice storm, and they were talking about this impending storm for 2 weeks. Sure enough, the storm hit, and I was watching the local news, and they said it created this heat spot shortage. It's a public health issue because the storm had hit. And I thought, well, that was kind of silly talking about the storm for weeks, so I just started to deconstruct the industry, and it's just hyper-fragmented. There's a lot of monopolies, and just a lot of just traditional market failures. You'd see a lot of information asymmetry. Really textbook and efficient market.
You want the data? HIPAA issues with that?
There's not, yeah. So we're designed actually not to handle the data. So that's really the interesting aspect about our data. HHS is very interested in. We're really identifying where blood's coming and going. What's the state of our national blood supply? It's a massive public health concern. There's really no framework for that. They view that through a historical prism. They actually survey hospitals and blood centers for that to generate the data, and then they share it 2 years later. So we actually have a kind of a real-time prism into what's going on with the blood supply. And then obviously all the supply and the kind of, if you think about Bloomberg or Black Biologics, there's a lot of immense data in there for supply chain and procurement.